Weakness, depression, panic attacks will be the title of today's video I'd like to talk about today. And the reason I'm doing this because I had a thought that what about the strength or weakness of the person who had, for example, 15 years of panic attack, which I did, and I had. I used to be, I was suffering from panic attack, and it lasted 15 years in my life. I am panic attack free for more than 1 year, and I was thinking that how strong person I am, and I had to conclude that I am not strong at all. And I was also thinking about it that how on earth I could be same strong as a person who had no panic attack, no depression for 15 years, and instead of that, of constantly fearing and worrying about unnecessary things and threats. This is just only virtual threats. How on earth this guy actually could be the same weak as I am, because he probably or she could be just being really aligned himself, herself. And this is not the same direction of life. For example, me, I had, like I mentioned before, 15 years of panic attacking, and I was depressed much longer, almost, I think I was depressed all my life, really. The 15 years of period in my life which I spent constantly panicking, having panic attacks and suffering from panic attacks, I just built up a really general weakness in myself. So I just cannot see myself right now, even though I am panic free more than 1 year now, that if I was a strong person, because I just certainly I cannot. I am weak. Well, I am strong in many cases, but I strongly believe I am not, and I'm way not as strong as I would have been if I had not have any panic attack for 15 years, for example, in my life. In fact, I had 15 years, and therefore today I am not as much aligned with my true self as I was supposed to be, and I could have been. Because I spent 15 years during panicking and suffering about that. I spent building up more worry, because I was constantly worried about my safetyness. That was the panic attack all about, my safetyness. And I was worrying in ridiculous, unexplainable situations that I considered as danger, real danger for me, and just like false alarm alarm went off in my head, and I couldn't cope with it. I would like to explain something that what I'm actually thinking about your true self, and what I'm thinking about that is not my true self. I would say my other self. So what about this duality? Is that actually existing or not? Is this really true that you do something that you did not want to do? So who is that in you that actually does, and the other self doesn't? I mean, doesn't want. For example, me, I did many things in my life I did not want, or I wanted so many things in my life, which also true, and probably I'm not alone with this, that I wanted. In fact, I have much more. I have much more thing which I have actually never done, because but I wanted to. So who is this who wants? Who is the other who actually never get to the point to actually do it? So I'd like to go into the details about this right now, and let me just read up a few notes that I wrote, explaining a little bit about what I am thinking as being your true self and your, daily life self, if you like. That's duality. And yes, the other hand, your true self. On the other hand, again, that's your everyday self, or your timeless self, versus your time sense of self, the entity in you who is living in time, who is worrying about I should do that tomorrow, I should not have done that yesterday, or resultantly, uh, your timeless self, which is an entity in you that is somehow follows your mind. Okay, or your force throughout your entire life, your force and your current mood right now, your mood at this moment versus the force in throughout your life, or the next one, your whole life versus this is your current thought that is happening right now. So your current thought that you are thinking right now versus the whole your life. The reality that has happened anyway. So the reality that has already happened until now versus your thoughts, your wishes, desires that actually in some reason they never come true. And finally, all your stories that you are telling to yourself versus the entity in you who is actually listening to your stories. Because there are stories you're telling to yourself, and the stories you are telling to yourself is the entity in you who is actually listening to your stories. Please feel free to ask any questions and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.